SNL guests that were never invited back after odd performances.
But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories.
NBC's Saturday Night Live is a launching pad for an artist's career, and with millions of viewers tuning in, it's the perfect stage to make your mark. When things go wrong on SNL, though, they go really wrong. Just as many careers have been undone on the show by bad behavior, weak rapport, or lack of humor, the same can happen to a celebrity host. SNL has high standards to maintain, and in the worst of these situations, artists have been permanently blacklisted from Studio 8H. After hosting and not learning her lines, the famous socialite's never been back. She also had no interest in getting to know the cast. Seth Meyers offered $100 to the first person who heard Hilton ask a personal question. No one won the money. That's so not hot. Most hosts are stoked to be on SNL, but Zappa made it clear he wasn't a fan. He mocked the cue cards, making it obvious he was reading from them and was a bad sport with cast and crew during the prep week. Chevy Chase, the comedic actor and former SNL cast member, got a soft ban from the show in 1997 after he didn't get along well with other cast members during sketches. This came after decades of alleged bad behavior from the actor. Still, he reappeared on Weekend Update a decade later. Strict rules apply to guests in Studio 8H, one of which prohibits alcohol and drug use. The band ignored this and performed drunk in 1986, eventually cursing live on air, prompting their subsequent blacklist. Adrien Brody. Not only did the actor complain all week about the writer's ideas for his sketches, but Brody messed up when he introduced the show's Jamaican musical guest while donning long fake dreadlocks and a bad accent. Elvis Costello. While making a musical guest appearance in 1977, Costello was supposed to play Less Than Zero, but instead launched into Radio, a song criticizing media censorship. He was banned until 1999 when he came on the show and played the song again. Andy Kaufman. Kaufman wasn't booted by SNL producers, but by the audience. After a number of complaints rolled into NBC about Kaufman's comic ability, the network ran a toll-free number on screen, allowing fans to call and vote whether Kaufman should stay. The votes were an overwhelming no. Fear and Chaos. This band Fear's ban may not entirely have been their fault. Cast member John Belushi led several other musicians and punk rock audience members in a mosh pit during one of Fear's songs. After general destruction and chaos ensued, the band was deemed too high risk to return. Charles Grodin. During a hosting gig in 1977, Grodin couldn't stay in character and just didn't want to stick to the script. Ad-libbing is extremely verboten on Lorne Michaels' show, especially if it's bad ad-libbing, which Grodin's was. Sinead O'Connor. While doing a cover of Bob Marley's song War live on the show, Sinead changed some of its lyrics to mention the Catholic Church's child abuse scandal, and then tore up a photo of Pope John Paul II. She wasn't asked back. Rage Against the Machine. It was a political statement that got these guys the boot. During a 1996 episode hosted by presidential candidate Steve Forbes, the band rebelled against his platform by hanging American flags upside down on the stage. They were escorted out of the studio. David Bowie. The Starman endured a short 3-year ban when, against Lorne Michaels' wishes, he performed Scary Monsters and Super Creeps live instead of the tamer Telling Lies. Michaels associated the former song with a dark period of his life, which Bowie knew about ahead of time. Cypress Hill. Cypress Hill missed the memo about smoking on stage, and when member DJ Muggs lit a joint while live on camera, it was clear the group was going to hear from the network about a permanent ban. Martin Lawrence. In 1994, this bad boy launched into a monologue more uncomfortable than funny, making mean-spirited remarks about the racial makeup of the studio audience and then spinning into a tirade about women's hygiene. What you gonna do? Michaels kicked him out. Milton Berle. Milton Berle was a comedy legend, but even legends go too far. In 1979, Berle commandeered the show, going off script and upstaging all the other cast members in a performance said to be like a comedy train accident in slow motion on a loop. Steven Seagal. He was a big action hero in 1991, but nobody told Seagal that action heroes don't get to act like jerks. He was reportedly so disrespectful to casting crew during rehearsals that Michaels considered sending him home and going without a host. Louise Lasser. Lasser was the first person ever banned from SNL after she showed up to host the show Lit, or Under the Influence of Substances. A production assistant later said she crawled through the show's offices looking for drugs. Kanye wasn't banned outright, but cut off after he went overtime, singing 3 songs instead of his allotted 2. While NBC cut to a commercial break, West continued an off-the-cuff speech about his political leanings, prompting jeers from the audience. Ashley Simpson. During a technical malfunction on her stint as a musical guest in 2004, it was revealed on live television that Simpson had been lip-syncing. Show executives had no idea that Simpson wouldn't really be singing, and she didn't return after that. Robert Blake. Another not-so-nice guy behind the scenes, Blake was rude to show staff all week, and according to legend, even threw a script at writer Gary Kroger's head. After he did his contracted hosting duties on Saturday, he left the studio and never returned. Of course, Saturday Night Live's most notable stories don't involve the host. Garrett Morris. Some of the not ready for primetime players have become stars themselves, while others simply faded into the background. Garrett Morris, for example, made history as SNL's first African-American cast member. He remained on the show for its first 5 seasons, but what did he do after leaving Studio 8H for good? Morris has remained in pop culture, even appearing on an episode of Family Guy. He has also continued to act, landing roles on sitcoms like The Jamie Foxx Show and Two Broke Girls. He was fortunate for his career to carry on so long compared to other original cast members. After her time on SNL ended, Gilda Radner starred in her own one-woman show and several movies. She even married Gene Wilder. Gilda tragically died in 1989, though, after a battle with ovarian cancer. During the early days of SNL, Al Franken was a key member of the cast. In 1995, however, he made the jump to politics. He even served as a senator representing Minnesota before resigning amid accusations of sexual harassment. As a Second City alum, Robin Duke easily made the transition to SNL. After her time on the show ended, she stayed in comedy, appearing in Groundhog Day and other films before moving to Schitt's Creek. Dan Aykroyd was originally hired as a writer, but his goofy humor made him the perfect addition to SNL's original cast. He left the show in 1979, hoping to focus on movies. He, of course, starred in some classics, but he also pursued some business opportunities. Those films include fan favorites like The Blues Brothers and Ghostbusters. He also transitioned into family movies with Driving Miss Daisy and My Girl. Of course, Aykroyd became an entrepreneur, co-founding the House of Blues restaurant chain and Crystal Head Vodka. Not a bad career for a comedian. John Belushi starred alongside Aykroyd in SNL and in The Blues Brothers, and he made his mark in other famous films like Animal House, but his comedy career ended far too soon. The comedian tragically died of an overdose in 1982. Chevy Chase left Saturday Night Live after only 2 seasons, much to the relief of his castmates who found him rude and disrespectful. But it was clear that he was destined for big things, but not all of his new ventures were bound for success. Chase appeared in some beloved films like Caddyshack and National Lampoon's Vacation, but The Chevy Chase Show was a massive flop. More recently, he played the grumpy Pierce Hawthorne on Community. He gained a reputation for being hard to work with. Ever since leaving SNL, Bill Murray's star has continued to shine brightly in both comedies and dramas. He's appeared in everything from Caddyshack to Lost in Translation and remains a beloved pop culture fixture to this day. Eddie Murphy was one of SNL's major stars during the early 1980s. After bursting onto the comedy scene at only 19, he looked like he could do no wrong. Things didn't always go smoothly, though. After striking out on his own, Murphy appeared in hit after hit, ranging from The Nutty Professor to Shrek. His later career, however, was blighted by flops. Thankfully, films like Dreamgirls and Dolomite Is My Name have helped Murphy make a resounding comeback. Joe Piscopo appeared alongside Murphy in the early 1980s, leaving SNL in 1984. Since then, he starred in a few movies and took to the radio waves. He also considered a foray into New Jersey politics. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. didn't enjoy her time on Saturday Night Live, but that didn't inhibit her career. The actress famously went on to play Elaine on Seinfeld and won numerous accolades for her turn as Selena Meyer on Veep. Billy Crystal was already a star when he joined the SNL cast, but he got even bigger after his stint on the show. He's since appeared in countless movies like When Harry Met Sally and Monsters, Inc. He even tried his hand at playing baseball. After hitting it big on SNL with characters like Garth and Church Lady, Dana Carvey paid it forward, using his own show to help launch Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert's careers. But eventually, the spotlight became too much. In the early 2000s, Carvey took a break from showbiz to spend more time with his family. He returned without missing a beat, however, lending his voice to Secret Life of Pets and Rick and Morty. Mike Myers was the other half of Wayne's World, and he also found success after SNL. The Canadian famously brought Austin Powers to life and voiced one beloved movie ogre, Shrek. Chris Rock came to SNL in 1990 and immediately established himself as a star. He went on to appear in On Living Color and his own sitcom Everybody Hates Chris. He's also established himself as one of the most successful stand-up comics in the game. SNL can be a dog-eat-dog show, but Tim Meadows remained on the cast for 10 years. After leaving, he showed up in Mean Girls before appearing in The Goldbergs and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. After leaving Saturday Night Live, Tracy Morgan moved on to 30 Rock, where he played the zany character of Tracy Jordan. He was involved in a serious car accident in 2014, but returned to show business after a 16-month recovery. Tina Fey was an iconic SNL cast member during her 6 seasons on the show. She went on to create 30 Rock, write her memoirs, and adapt her movie Mean Girls into a Broadway play. Fey formed a dynamic duo with Amy Poehler, who departed from SNL in 2008. After starring in Parks and Rec, she hosted Make It, appeared in Wine Country, and even racked up several producer credits. Poehler has also been an advocate for women in comedy. Ever since leaving Saturday Night Live, Will Ferrell has been unstoppable. As a member of the Frat Pack, he starred in films like Step Brother and Anchorman, made a new Christmas classic with Elf, and even created the comedy site Funny or Die. Jimmy Fallon got his start on SNL as a cast member and co-host of Weekend Update, but he has grown into a household name as the newest host of The Tonight Show. He's credited with bringing the famous late-night show into the 21st century.